So, hi everyone, good evening. My name is Niharika Ghadge and I welcome you all to a new session as a part of YLCC's Legal Career-A-Thon series, where we have an expert every week to guide you all. Today we have with us Mr. Kunal Rajpal, sir. Welcome, sir, and thank you so much for joining. Sir is here to guide us on career as an in-house lawyer, vis-a-vis law firm lawyer. Sir is currently working as a director and of legal at CS at UBS. Priorly, he has also worked with HSA advocates. If time permits, we shall also have the audience's questions at the end of the session. So I request the audience to pin down their questions in the chat box. So without a further delay, let us begin with today's session. So sir, the first question for today would be, you hold the experience of almost 2 decades in the contractual, regulatory, technology, and real estate matters, and have a diverse work experience of working with reputed law firms like Amarchand and Mangaldas, JSA, HSA, West Advocate Associates, as well as an in-house counsel at Viacom 18, Reliance, and UBS. So could you please briefly share your journey and key roles and responsibilities across the domains as a legal professional?
Okay, great. So thanks, Niharika. So I have not yet completed 20 years of experience, not 2 decades yet. I have completed around 16 years of experience. I finished my law in 2006 from Law Faculty, Delhi University. And a year before that, I finished my CS in 2005. Now, when I finished my CS, there was a competition which was hosted by the CS Institute. It was a moot court competition. And I happened to win that competition for the northern region. And it was a stroke of luck that one of the partners from Vash Associates was a judge in that competition, and he sort of liked me and he offered me a job, even though I was in my 3rd year of law. So that's how I landed with my first job. It was just a pure stroke of luck. And I'm sure most of you will, or can have that stroke of luck. So yeah, I did not really have to struggle too much for my first job, and I spent a year with Vash Associates, and I was simultaneously trying to complete my 3rd year of law with Faculty of Law in Delhi. And once I finished my law, after a couple of months, I got an offer from J. Sagar Associates, to which I had applied formally, and I was I was given that opportunity to work at JSA. So the key motive for me to move from Vash Associates in a year to JSA was obviously because JSA was a bigger and much better brand than Vash Associates, and they were offering me a lot of more money than what Vash was offering. So in the early years of your career, I think money and the brand that you work with definitely matters a lot. And I ended up spending almost 6.5 years with JSA. After, spending around 6.5 years with JSA, as we'll speak later on, how is the life at a top tier law firm? I was sort of burned out, and I wanted a certain degree of change in my career, and also wanted to explore the other side of law. As it generally happens when we start our careers, we are in the age range of 24, 25, and after spending 6-7 years, we are at the age range of 30, 31, where we have married and we like to have a better work-life balance, so as to say. So that prompted me to try in-house opportunities, which I did, and I moved to Viacom 18. I was lucky to get a job in that company. But somehow, unfortunately for me, it did not work out too well for me. And in a 1.5 years time, I left Viacom 18, and then I tried another in-house, Reliance ADA, and even that opportunity did not work out too well for me. And I moved back to a law firm, which was HSA Advocates. So you can see that I had a shift in my career, moving from law firm to in-house, and then again back to law firm, and then again back to in-house. So now I'm working for the last 4 years. I'm working with UBS, which is a company. So that has been my journey. I have made shifts which are slightly unconventional. People either stick to a law firm or stick to a corporate, or if they make the movement, then they stick to that. So if people move from a law firm to a in-house, they shift or they try to retain that. But sometimes I would, because all of you are very young, I would like to say that sometimes life has its own course, and sometimes, things don't really move the way you think it would happen. Definitely, it's a very good idea to plan your life, but also be open to new things or to new avenues there where life can take you. Well, so that has been my journey, a slightly unconventional one, a lot of hips and hops here and there. So I'm also open now. I don't know where the next move will be, but so far so good.
Right. So could you share about your key roles and responsibilities across these domains as a legal professional?
Okay. See, this is a very big question. And I think if I start answering this, it will take an entire hour. And I don't really want to bore our young friends here with what are the different roles and responsibilities. See, guys, on a very serious note, what will happen is that your roles and responsibilities will change depending on the company you are working for, depending on the sector in which your company operates. So anyone who tells you, okay, this is going to be a role, this is going to be a responsibility as a law firm lawyer or as an in-house lawyer, is actually not doing justice to you. All right. So a lot of your roles and responsibilities will depend on a lot of factors. So for example, if you are working for a law firm, it will depend in which team you are. If you are in the corporate team, then you will be handling contracts, mergers and acquisitions, those kind of things. If you happen to be in a regulatory team, then you will handle different kind of stuff. If you happen to be in a litigation team, then you will handle different kind of stuff. Similarly, if you join a company, it all depends on which company you are joining. So if you join a company which is into, say, infrastructure space, such as building roads, then you will be dealing a lot with the government or handling procurement processes or handling RFPs. If you are working for a media company, you can end up having or drafting contracts with actors and actresses, those kind of stuff. If you work for a OTT platform company like an Amazon or a Netflix, you may end up signing contracts with directors for producing movies, those kind of stuff. If you work for a banking company, you may end up, drafting contracts for loan transactions or different kind of stuff. So the roles and responsibilities differ from, from the place you are, from where you belong to. All right. And a lot of times, this is something I heard from a very senior lawyer when I was still in law college. And I did not really believe it at that time, but now I really believe it and give it a lot of importance. A lot of time we think that, okay, I want to be a litigation lawyer, or I want to be a tax consultant, or I want to be an M&A lawyer. But a lot of times, these are choices which sometimes are not determined by us. It's determined a lot by circumstances and the opportunities that you start getting in life. So if somebody wants to be an M&A lawyer, but he doesn't get a chance to join a corporate law firm, instead gets a chance to join a tax team in some other law firm. And, and that person may take up that opportunity. And he can, in 5 years' time, become a tax lawyer rather than an M&A lawyer. Similarly, you may want to work with a media company like Viacom and make contracts for actors and actresses, but you may very well end up in a banking company and end up drafting loan documents rather than contracts with some prominent personalities. So a lot of times, what you want to be is determined is determined a lot by the opportunities that you get in life, rather than deciding in advance that I want to do this. And the key to happiness is to really enjoy, the opportunities that you get, rather than sulk about the things that you wanted to do and, couldn't do. So take it as a bigger game plan and go accordingly. Well, so that's on the role and responsibilities. Yeah.
All right.
All
What are the
right.
general duties of an in-house counsel, and what are the challenges? How are the challenges different from a law firm lawyer, and what influenced your decision of shifting from law firms to in-house role?
Okay. So friends, so let me answer this. I will break up this question into a couple of things here, because to answer what are the general duties, I think it's important to understand some basic difference between what a law firm lawyer does and what a in-house lawyer does. Okay, and this answer can, as you see more questions following up, I mean, some of these may be overlapping. So as I just mentioned, that you cannot really generalize the duties and responsibilities, because your duties and responsibilities will significantly depend on the sector you are in or the team you are in. So people have a misconception that a general counsel, at the student level, even I was not aware of this fact. I used to think that, okay, in a company, there is one law department which does everything, which is not the case. In more traditional companies, the general counsel kind of role still exists. But in the more modern companies in India now, and also a lot of foreign companies, the company in-house departments are also set up like a law firm. So for example, let me give you an example of UBS. So UBS is actually, a lot of people don't know in India, but this acronym stands for the Union Bank of Switzerland. So this is the National Bank of Switzerland. It's now privatized, but it's a 150-year-old company, and it used to be the National Bank of Switzerland. And it has, as you all know, that Switzerland was a neutral country in the Second World War. So a lot of politicians and industrialists from all the war-torn countries deposited their funds with UBS. So UBS is a very, very rich bank. It doesn't really have too many operations in India, but it is a very popular bank in Europe and US, because a lot of corrupt politicians and industrialists have kept their money in UBS. And even you can all hear the Swiss banks narrative that we have in India. So a lot of corrupt politicians in India also have their money stacked away in Switzerland. I don't open bank accounts for them, but this was just to give you a brief about UBS. So a company like UBS has around 1,000 lawyers globally, and these lawyers are also stemmed up in different kind of teams, just like a law firm. So in a law firm, you will have a M&A team, a litigation team, a taxation team. So similarly in UBS, we have separate teams to handle litigation, separate teams to handle taxation, separate teams to handle employment legal matters, separate team to handle regulatory matters, separate teams to handle contractual matters, and separate teams to deal with clients for every business division that we have. So you need to, at a student level, we are generally not aware how this is all done, but the concept of a general counsel is very, very rapidly declining. So there is not one lawyer who will handle everything, even in a company. All right. So that's the first key thing to understand, that in the emerging kind of world, for bigger companies, a single lawyer cannot handle everything. There are specialist teams just like the law firm teams. All right. So that's the first point. Now, coming to general duties of an in-house counsel versus a law firm. So let's just understand how a law firm is different from a in-house kind of a setup. So let's talk about the in-house setup first, because that is very important. In any company, the in-house lawyers are the first ones who are the closest to the business. So if there is a problem that happens with the company, the business people are going to approach the in-house lawyer at the first instance. So suppose there can be any problem. Suppose the government tomorrow comes and imposes a fine on UBS, or says, okay, one director is a director is guilty of something. Sorry. Somebody comes and says, hey, a director is guilty of something. So, and there's a case which is filed on the director. So at the first instance, a director will always come to the lawyer who is closest to him, which is the company's in-house counsel. All right. So the first point of approach is for the business is to approach that in-house lawyer. So you see, the general duty of an in-house lawyer is to be always available to the needs of the business. Whether the lawyer is able to handle that query or not. So that lawyer may not be an expert in handling director-related litigations or taxation matters, but that lawyer has to be available to calm down the business guys. All right. So what I'm trying to tell here is that one of the key importance or aspect of a in-house lawyer is to be really aware of what's happening in the company and to have more of a generalist approach, so that if there is a problem of any kind that can come on the company, that lawyer is able to handle, say, even 40 or 50% of it. So he can tell, okay, wait, if there is a raid that has been done by the income tax department, then he can say, okay, look, I will come and help you. He may not be an expert on income tax matters, but he should have that kind of an ability to sort of handle a lot of situations. So that is the key duty of an in-house lawyer, to really handle a lot of practical situations. All right. Now, so when you are, so the next question here, how are the challenges different from a law firm lawyer? So that the one of the key challenges which I think I handle as a general or as a in-house lawyer is to be sort of available at all times and to really handle very, very different kind of situations, even though I may not be an expert in that area. For example, in our company, not in my company, but there have been situations where employees have threatened to commit suicide because they have not been promoted where they had some expectation. So that's a very unique situation. An employee actually can go and commit suicide. There are situations where there has been an income tax raid in the company. There can be situations where a director may be implicated in some kind of a case. There can be a lot of situations and they can be very, very broad. So you need to be slightly more of a generalist to handle a lot of situations. Coming to a law firm lawyer, first of all, we understand that law firm has a lot of specialized lawyers who specialize in different areas, and companies go to law firms to take use of that specialized knowledge which the law firm's lawyers have garnered by virtue of doing the same transaction again and again. So if you go to a law firm, the law firm departments may be M&A departments, corporate departments, taxation departments. Now, the advantage of a law firm lawyer is that the corporate lawyer is doing the same thing again and again. For hundreds of different companies, he will do the same kind of transactions. So by virtue of doing that, those kind of general transactions, he becomes an expert in that small area of law. So his range of operational activity is very, very small. So what happens, this is how the interlinkage happens between an in-house lawyer and a law firm. So if something happens on a taxation side in my company, I will go to a law firm and I will say, hey, I need to take the advice of your taxation team. So then the taxation team will give me a specialist lawyer who handles that particular kind of taxation. If I'm handling a different kind of litigation in my company, I will go to the corporate team and I will say, hey, I need a specialist to handle this kind of litigation. So then they will give me a specialist lawyer handling that kind of litigation. So what that is distinction that I'm trying to create here is that law firm makes you a specialist in a certain area of law, whereas your role in a company tends to make you more of a generalist. All right. And that was the traditional role of a general counsel. But as I mentioned earlier, that this differentiation is also very rapidly going away, because bigger corporates are also sort of having specialized teams to look after, because they understand that a single lawyer may not have the expertise to handle all facets of law. So they have specialized teams. So for example, if a litigation matter comes to me, instead of me going to the litigation team of a law firm, I first go to the litigation team in-house and I then work with them to engage a law firm. So that's how it operates. On your third part, I think I've already answered that. What influenced my decision of shifting from law firms to an in-house role? Okay. I think a lot of us would already know that, but basically, when you work for a law firm, you are slightly more under pressure because companies actually come to you. Uh, uh, Companies actually go to lawyers in a law firm only when the water has crossed the bridge, only when things have become like very, very urgent. So law firm lawyers are always really, they cannot really plan their life and they always have to be on their toes. So a lot of times there is no work-life balance and there's always this thing that you have to, provide stuff at the last minute. As an in-house lawyer role, uh, these kind of circumstances happen very, very infrequently. So for the most part of your role, you can still plan your life and you still have time to yourself, and the hours that you work are generally manageable. But in a law firm role, again, as you said, I will go to a law firm when I am in distress myself, and tomorrow there's a hearing and I am engaging a lawyer today evening and to present my case in the court tomorrow. So a law firm lawyer may end up working the entire night to represent me in the court tomorrow, whereas I will just brief him and I will go home and sleep. So that's basically the kind of difference in a law firm role and the in-house role. And one of the key criteria which made me move from a law firm to in-house was that I had a family and I sort of wanted more time for myself. I think I mostly moved for these kind of reasons, to have a more balanced attitude towards life.
Right. While answering this question, Fleur has also answered the next question, which talked about his current role in the organization. So we can directly hop on to the next question. So, sir, as a corporate in-house counsel, what are the top most legal skills one must possess? And according to you, how much upskilling is important for law students in today's time?
Okay. Now, on the first part, Niharika, I think I already mentioned that, I already alluded to that the legal skill that you must possess depends on the company that you are working with or the sector that the company operates in, right? So if I'm working in a banking company, I don't need to have any kind of knowledge about how media contracts operate. So I can actually live without being an IPR lawyer. Whereas if you're working in a media company, IPR law becomes very important for you, right? So I think the topmost legal skills that you need to possess as an in-house lawyer depends on which sector you are, etc., etc. But one very key thing which you must possess is the non-legal skill of being more aware of what's happening and being open to handle very different kind of situations. So that's a non-legal skill, but legal skill, I would say that, depends on which company or which sector you are, or even within the sector, which team you are. So if you are in a banking company like UBS, as a employment lawyer, you don't really need to know what's happening on the data protection side, right? But again, these questions make more sense when you are asking from a general counsel perspective. And to be honest to our friends here, smaller companies still have that general counsel role. So UBS is a very old company. I'm giving you the example of UBS, Adani, Reliance. These are very, very big corporates. So they have very specialized legal teams. But to come to smaller companies, obviously they do not really have the money to keep multiple lawyers. So smaller companies would generally have one or two lawyers. So there the lawyers are called as general counsels. And in those kind of companies, again, the general counsel is supposed to be more of a generalist. So he should be, probably an expert in one or two things, but he should really know what's happening on the other side or on the other side. So to give you an example about myself, so right now I am in the contracts team for UBS, but before this I was working for another company where I was a general counsel. So I was a specialist on the contract side and on the M&A side, but and I would say that 60-70% of my work was in that area. But as a general counsel, you need to know what's really happening. So if there's a new data protection law that's coming, you should know about that. If there are some changes in the IPR law, you should know about that. You may not be an expert, and if there's a case which comes on the data protection side or the IPR side or a technology law situation, then you should know, okay, this is the expert I need to go to. So you need to be a generalist, and most critical thing is that be open to exploring new stuff. New challenges can come anytime. Okay, how much? Sorry.
sorry to interrupt in between, sir. So as you mentioned that we need to be aware about the business that we are planning to enter into, like you transitioned from Viacom 18 to UBS. You switched from a media company to again a banking company. So like the basic knowledge, basic skills that you mentioned, that we need to know the basics of the company we are planning to enter into. So like this is coming from one of my interview experiences. So I applied for Honda, and I got into the organization, but then they asked me about M&A. So one of the questions, like this is a very vast subject, so it is not possible to know each and everything. So how do we understand, like how do we prepare for that interview, like what questions they're going to ask or what the field is about? Like because law is a very vast subject, and we cannot just
absolutely. So very quickly, let me answer Tanya's question. Tanya, see what happens whenever a company advertises a job position, they specify what is the job requirement. All right. So a company, like for example, we hired a couple of people in UBS recently, and we wanted two different lawyers. We wanted a lawyer who is a specialist in a particular area and another lawyer who was specialist in a contractual law. So we advertised our position like that. Now, when we shortlist the resumes, so I will not shortlist the resume of an M&A lawyer for an IPR position. All right. So similarly, you have to see if the position in Honda was for an M&A lawyer, then they will expect somebody who comes from that background, and therefore, if they ask a question about M&A, it's reasonable. But suppose that position is for a different kind of thing, and then they are asking M&A questions, then maybe it's not a right question from the interviewer side. So generally, whenever you go to LinkedIn or any other job site, you will see what is the job description. So as a recruiter, one very key thing that we have to do before we hire someone is to really identify, if I'm hiring a particular lawyer, what do I expect that lawyer to do? Okay, so I need to be clear in my head. I am hiring this lawyer to handle ABCD kind of work, and therefore my job description has to clearly state that. And if that person is asking me questions on something else, then probably that lawyer has not done a good job what he was supposed to do. And I have also faced situations where they know what is my experience, and I have applied for a job realizing that, okay, this is what they want and I have this experience and I have applied. And then they started asking me questions about data law and about some other stuff, which I don't know. I only know a little bit about data law or probably technology law. And then they started me asking very, very complicated questions on that aspect. So, I mean, it reflects that the interviewer is not clear what he really wants. All right. So don't really take it as a negative on yourself, but more as a problem on the interviewer's side. All right. Coming to this question, I already answered about the first part. How much upscaling is important? So upscaling is very important, and not only for law students, but for everyone, because our profession is unfortunately that we have to really keep upskilling and keep reading on what's really happening in the area that we operate. Okay. We may not, again, as I said, in life, unless you are a law firm lawyer or a particular specialist. So some people want to be a specialist in an area, and some people like to be a generalist. So I like to be a generalist. So for me, upskilling probably means that I should be aware of what new developments are taking place in the legal arena, rather than really digging deep into everything. So for example, yesterday, a new personal data protection bill came. So I read in the newspapers and I just understood, okay, this is the bill. And then I picked up the bill and sent it to my data protection expert. So for everyone, I think upskilling is very, very important. All right. Next question, is it advisable for law students to start their career with in-house positions, or should they take law firm roles? See, again, before answering this question, I want to tell you about life. This is a little bit of Gyan philosophy, that life generally doesn't really happen the way we want. Okay, everybody wants to join Amarchand Mangaldas and AZB in the first go, but Is that be an merchant? No, have limitations. They cannot really hire every lawyer from every law school, right? So we have to be mindful of the fact that every time what we plan may not happen. And that is absolutely fine. And also remember that after a few years, everybody, after that initial euphoria of 2, 3, 4 years, I think after 5 years, everybody is at the same position, so that's absolutely all right. Now, okay, this question, there is a very standard answer to this, and a lot of senior lawyers will tell you that you should try to start your career in a law firm. And to a large extent, they are right. Because when you work in a law firm, you get exposure to stuff that is happening not in one company, but in a multitude of companies, because law firms have multitude of companies as their clients. So you get an exposure to different kind of companies. More than law, you also get the experience to handle very difficult times of working. You also get an exposure to handle, strict deadlines and sometimes very, very irritable bosses, sometimes long hours. You also learn to sacrifice a lot of your pleasurable moments to do your job. So apart from law firms in the initial years give you that exposure that, okay, life is not a valley of flowers, but there are a lot of rocks also. So yeah, you may get a lot of money, but you also need to sacrifice a lot for that. Now, the other thing is that should they strictly target law firm jobs or in-house? I would say that just be open. Whatever comes your way, be open to approach it and adopt it. I mean, take it up, because as I said, do not really wait for the ideal job to come your way. All right. That may take away a lot of valuable time from your hands. And as you can see from my example, it's always possible to switch in later years. So I have seen a number of examples where in-house lawyers have moved to law firms and law firm lawyers have moved in-house. So it's always possible. So just be open. Do not leave a job. Take the best opportunity that you get.
Right. And sir, what should be the key components of relevance in a law graduate's CV who wishes to secure as an in-house counsel's job?
See, the key again, this, Niharika, I would say this depends on what is the kind of position. Okay. A law graduate, when you say a law graduate, it can be a fresher or an experienced person. All right. But since most of the participants here are freshers or law students, I would say that from that perspective, what you should try and do is to get maximum exposure in both law firms and companies during your law school course. So whether you are doing a 3-year course or a 5-year course, try to get a variety of experience. Try to work with a law firm also, the best law firm you can get. Try to work with a company also. Try to work with a local lawyer, independent lawyer also. But try to get as many internships as possible you can. In some internships, you may learn a lot. In some internships, you may not learn anything, which is also a learning that, that not how not to do learning. But basically, when I take up a fresher, I would really see how many internships he has done. That's very critical, because see, I know as a fresher, you will know nothing. When you come to me as a fresher, for me, the assumption is that you know nothing. Okay, you just have bookish knowledge. Your internships give you a little bit of insight into the practical world. But for me, I have to start with scratch with you. So the advisable thing is try to get as many internships as you can. And, when I say as many, it's not like 15 days here, 15 days there. Right. Try to spend at least a couple of months in internship. So 7 to 8 internships in a 5-year period is a good internship, and spend at least a month and a half in every internship. That should be good. That should be very good, actually.
Right. So one common query we have received from our students is whether law plus CS is a good combination or not. Please share how are the roles of and responsibilities of a company secretary professional different from a lawyer, and are they interchangeable?
So first of all, whether it's a good combination or not, it's definitely a good combination. All right. It's definitely a very good combination. But one important point is that try to do it while you are doing your LLB syllabus. Do not start it after you're finishing LLB. I have seen some people start doing CS after their LLB, which is not a very good idea, because I would rather work after finishing my LLB rather than do another course, which is a very difficult course. So if you can manage to finish the CS within that 5 year of time that you're doing LLB, it is very, very good. And suppose 6-8 months are left, 1 or 2 semesters are left of CS, then it is fine to continue. But even if you have not completed a part of it and you want to continue spending time on it after your law course, that's not advisable. So yes, it's a good combination, because at the initial level of finding a job, it gives you a little bit of edge over students who have not done CS. All right. And this applies to whether you come from an NLU or any other college. So that's first. Roles and responsibilities of a CS professional. See, I am a CS and a lawyer. So see, the roles and responsibilities are clearly interchangeable. Again, I want to say here that in very, very big companies, and especially listed companies, there is a separate secretarial department. And this is a very traditional kind of setup. And also to let you all know that in the modern world, these traditional setups are changing very rapidly. All right. So these kind of distinctions may not appear in a lot of modern era companies. But coming to the traditional companies, yes, especially public sector companies and very, very big corporations, which are also listed, there is a separate secretarial department, and they generally only look at the stock exchange compliances. So if you are a listed company, you would know that you have to list yourself with the National Stock Exchange or the BSE. And then those stock exchanges have a lot of requirements and a lot of compliances. And SEBI also imposes a lot of compliances on companies. So for those kind of companies, there's a separate secretarial department which mostly looks at the compliance part, mostly from a SEBI and a stock exchange perspective. But in modern corporations, I mean, I would say 99% of the company secretaries are also lawyers. So the distinction is very, very less. All right. Apart from handling regular board meetings and all, I think a lot of CSs do the regular legal work, which we just discussed. So, yeah.
Right. Sir has again answered the next question as well. So we can hop on to the next question. In continuation, could you please share what are the most valuable skills which an individual could possess in order to become a successful company secretary, and how much relevance
just hard work, patience, discipline, that's it. See, we just have 15 minutes. Let's quickly go on with these standard questions, then we can ask some practical questions which our friends have. All right.
All right.
So,
right, so should I?
See, if you see anything important, Niharika, let me know. Like the next one, common mistakes committed by students during their internships. During your internship, try to work hard. Hard work, people say work smartly and all. Work smartly, but hard. Hard is very important because, in law firms especially, I have seen that whereas while we used to sit till late and work, a lot of interns, used to go out for party and all. So that's not really appreciable. So try to work hard, try to learn as much as you can. That's an important time. So try to learn as much as you can. Try to be sincere. Sincerity is very important. How should the students upskill themselves? Upskill is just, I would say, when you are a student, don't worry too much about upskilling. Just focus on your curriculum. There's a lot to learn from your curriculum and internship. Just be sincere and disciplined in your internship. Upskilling, I would rather say that try to upskill after you have got a job. And then see, okay, so for example, on this upskill part, let me spend a couple of minutes. So as Tanya was mentioning, suppose you are a generalist lawyer and then you go into a department which handles contracts and you want to be in that company, and that is the time to upskill yourself. That is the time to say, okay, now I want to learn about contract negotiation. All right. But as a student, don't worry too much about upskilling. As a student, just focus on your curriculum, get good grades, try to get as many internships under your belt, because that's what you need to do, right? If you're doing CS, that is enough upskilling. If you're not doing CS, don't worry too much about it. Don't start your CS after this interview, after this lecture, okay? So if you're doing CS, very good, but don't start after this. Just focus on your curriculum. I think a lot of law colleges have very, very good curriculums. Focus on your studies. Don't just rely on those, those handbooks which come. Even I used to read all those handbooks before the exams. It's good to read those handbooks before the exams, but try to read substantive law, the main books which are there. All right. So that's good upskilling. Upskilling, I think, is important after you get a job.
Right.
All right.
So, sir, briefing out the next question. What do recruiters exactly look for when they are hiring for in-house positions? And should there be a specific strategy which...
No strategy. Yeah. Law firm students are too small, too young for strategy. The big lawyers sitting out there have great strategies. So don't worry too much about strategy. All right. So the simple strategy is try to get good grades. Try to understand the legal part. Know the law that you are reading and studying. Get internships under your belt. That is the best strategy. Okay. As a recruiter, I will look at your knowledge. Don't try to bluff, because when you are giving an interview, the people who are interviewing you have a lot of experience, knowledge. Even if they're not great lawyers, they have a lot of more experience. And it is very easy to pick up through the bluff of a student. And one of the things which a lot of recruiters don't like is when students try to bluff. So try to be, sincere, disciplined. Don't try to bluff. If you don't know something, which is absolutely fine, because when I'm recruiting a young lawyer 1 or 2 years into the career, or a fresh graduate, I know that lawyer knows nothing. All right. So if you show that, hey, you know so much and you have done so much, etc., that's not advisable, because for me, you know nothing. All right. Because even if you have interned at the best of places, I know you will know nothing, because I have seen interns from Amarchand and Khetan and JSA and HSA. As an intern, you only get to know 1% of what's the deal. Okay. So with that 1%, if you show that you know everything about the deal, that's absolutely a misnomer. So in an interview, don't try to bluff. Be good academically. And as I said, internships are very, very critical. So get that maximum practical exposure that you can. All right. Okay, I think I've said enough.
Yes.
I hope you all guys enjoyed it, right?
Definitely, sir. I believe every one of us will agree that. If anyone is willing to unmute themselves and ask their questions, yes, please.
Yeah. Sir, I just wanted to know about the day-to-day responsibilities of a contract specialist in-house as an in-house counsel. Of a contract specialist or a contract lawyer in an in-house counsel.
Drafting contracts, that's it. Day in and day out, you will do a drafting contracts. And contracts can be simple contracts also, or very complicated contracts also. Like, for example, I will tell you, it can be a simple contract to employ a speaker for an event, and you pay 1 lakh rupees to the speaker, that's it. Or it can be a complicated contract of, for example, what I do is procurement contract, where we are engaging TCS to handle a multi-million-dollar contract and to provide services to UBS globally. And as of now, 4,000 people from TCS are working on UBS projects. And we pay, in Indian rupees terms, 500 crores to TCS every year. So you can draft very small contracts also to such big contracts also. All right. It all depends on which company you are, what kind of work you are doing. So yeah, a contracts lawyer will draft contracts.
Yeah, I'm Anahita, and the thing is that I have a career break after my college, which I took to prepare for judiciary, and now I'm re-entering the workforce. So obviously, it's a bit difficult for me to get a bigger law firm at this juncture. So if I start with a smaller law firm, how difficult would it be for me to shift over to a bigger one and then eventually to in-house counsel, which is my ultimate goal?
What do you want? Okay, so you have to be clear, Anahita, that again, a lot of times we make up plans in our mind. You want to start with a small law firm, then go to a big law firm, and then go in-house. Okay.
So the thing is that at this point, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just meant the reason why I want to shift for a smaller law firm is because at this point, because of the career break thing, it's a bit difficult for me to get interviews with the bigger law firms right now.
Okay, so one concept which people so what is big law firm, what is small law firm is a very misguided concept. Okay, so what is big law firm? I mean, everybody thinks that apart from Amarchand, AZB, Trilegal, JSA, everything is a small law firm. Well, that's not the case. There are a lot of very, very good law firms with a very sizable number. So a big law firm, small law firm concept is very, very murky. We do not really know clear cut. There's no defined term what is a big law firm, what is a small law firm. Number one. Number two, thinking that a small law firm will take someone and a big law firm will not take someone is again a misnomer. A small law firms also have very, very good quality standards. So if you think that, okay, your quality is not up to the mark, so you will start with a small law firm and then go to a big law firm after you learn or enhance your quality, again, there's a misnomer. Some small law firms offer great, great quality than what these big law firms offer. All right. So that's the second point. So do not try to make things difficult for you in your life. You can directly go to an in-house also. Okay. A lot of good companies have programs for career break, especially women joining back from a maternity leave or students who have taken a break for preparing for some competitive exams. So if your ultimate goal, Anahita, is to go to an in-house, then you should follow that right now instead of small law firm, big law firm, and then an in-house. So that's my advice. Second point is that obviously you have to be open, right? So you may not get an in-house position immediately. So be open. Whatever job you get, you take it, right? So you start applying to every place that you know and talk to as many people as you know. Just be open, talk to recruiters, keep looking at LinkedIn. So whatever job you get, you follow that. All right. Does it answer your question, Anahita?
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
So basically, it is better to have like a niche field chosen and to engage ourselves in a company or a firm, or to have a general knowledge of different spheres and then join as an in-house, like which would be a better. And in addition to it, like how should we start up with like commercial knowledge, more and more about the commercial knowledge and keep enhancing it.
Okay. So what's your name? Sorry.
Yeah, my name is Darshana, sir. I'm a final year law student.
See, Darshana, I will be very, very honest with you. When you are a student, just focus on your academics. All right. That's a very important thing. As a student, when you are in your 23, 24 years of age, probably younger, you do not really know what is your interest. All right. So people think that I have seen people in their first year say, I want to be an M&A lawyer. They don't even know what is M&A. They may have heard some big names in the newspaper, or they may have heard some big law firms, and that's what they are saying. But then they may become an M&A lawyer and they may not like it. All right. So as a student, I'm just telling you that we are very, very naive. So as a student, I would say that be slightly open. All right. And a very, very big specialization when you are a student actually reduces your chances of getting a good job. Because if you say, for example, this is just an example, if you try to get a super specialization in IPR, you do so many courses on IPR law, and you are unable to find a job in a suitable law firm which handles IPR or a company which handles IPR related work, you may find yourself at a loss of job, right? It may happen that you find a job more as a contractual lawyer. So my advice is, unless you are really, really passionate about a particular subject, do not go for specialization at the student level. Try to spend 2-3 years after your law school in whatever field you get an opportunity, and it will give you some more maturity to really understand what you like, and then go for specialization. And for that specialization, you don't have to leave your job. Even if you're working with a litigation lawyer, you can always take up a side course on IPR or any other stuff that you want to super specialize in. All right. So as a student, I would go against specialization unless you are like really, really very, very keen and absolutely determined that, okay, I want to be a IPR lawyer or I want to be a data protection lawyer. Keep that for a couple of more years later in your life. So that's the advice here. Very, very personal advice is, okay, do not really, this is what I would do and I would tell my very close friend or my younger brother to do. It may not suit a lot of you. So obviously, you can do what you think is best. But yeah, this is my kind of view.
Hello, sir. Atul this side.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, I'm a final year law student from Pune. So I'm not from a good college or anything, but I have tried hard to get into the rankings of college, and I am interning at various firms. So as a person who recruits from a firm or any other company, do they look toward my college name or anything?
Well, my friend, to be really honest with you, this is a brutal, honest truth that yes, at the entry level, your college name does matter. Okay. And therefore, it is very important in your class 12 to try and get good marks and try to get into a good college. So that's given. So unfortunately, that is the way or the world that we live in. All right. Now, how to overcome a disability? If you have got a problematic situation like you, or how to overcome that? The overcome part is be really, really good in your studies, or what you have tried to do is to be really, really get into the college rankings. Secondly, try to get as many good internships as you can. So that's the way to really overcome, some aspects that you don't have.
Sir, and one more question. I have secured internship with firms, but I am more into company law. So I should go with the independent lawyer because I think that I'll get to learn more at his place than a firm. So what should I do in this case?
The point is, my friend, absolutely. If you don't want to go to a big law firm, that's your choice. Absolutely. See, you learn everywhere. Okay. What you are saying is very unconventional because 90% of the students who want to pursue a career in corporate law, not 90, I would say 98% of the students would want to go to a big corporate law firm, right? So again, what you are saying is very, very unconventional. So if you think that you will learn more at an individual lawyer, it's your choice.
I would request people to connect with sir. Sir, what medium would you like to prefer?
You all can send me request on LinkedIn. If you guys do not have a profile on LinkedIn, it's a good idea for you to create a profile on LinkedIn and send me a request, because in today's era, all these kind of networking sites are also important. You will see what's really happening. There's a lot of things to learn also. So just send me a request on LinkedIn and I will accept all the requests that I get. You can also send me your questions on LinkedIn, and the questions which I think are not properly or adequately answered, or someone is really, really keen to have a question answered, then I will either share the response on LinkedIn, or then I will share my number with that person on that individual message, and then we can have a chat. All right. And the last advice is that do not ask too many. One very important piece of advice which somebody gave me 20 years back. This is a mentorship session. I'm mentoring you, and all those things is very good. And YLCC is organizing this with a lot of senior people, so it's very good. Try to attend as much as. But at the end of the day, before taking any decisions, just spend time with yourself. Don't talk to people. All right. The ultimate decision has to be yours. Nobody should tell you, because after 5 years of life, you cannot go and say X person told me that's why I did this and now it's not working out for me, or Y person told me that to do that. Ultimately, the decision has to be yours own. You can attend these kind of mentoring sessions because you can hear different viewpoints, which will help you to take a decision. But at the end of the day, spend time with yourself, go for a walk and take a decision. And if required, I also do that with myself. Note down the reasons why you are taking that decision. Whether you want to work with a lawyer, corporate firm, whether you want to do a super specialization, take a decision, write down the reasons you are taking that decision, and that decision has to be yours. It shouldn't come from me or anyone else. All right. So wishing you all the best in your future endeavors. And again, to end this, thanks to YLCC for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir, so much. Thank you so much for scheduling it on a Saturday evening, despite your personal commitments. And thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night. Thank you, sir.
Bye.